Oklahoma's new approach to improving public schools reduces the role of the federal government, but has not reduced controversy.
But when we give it our best shot and it's not right, we should be willing to back up and reconsider and have another look at something. And that's what we're asking the State Department to do.
Oklahoma public education is undergoing major change. One of those changes, the state received a waiver from the requirements of the federal No Child Left Behind law that allowed Oklahoma to implement its own plan to identify low-performing schools and improve them. The process of identifying those schools is raising questions about how the state is deciding which schools need help.
If you want to do a T-chart. Okay.
7 schools have been named the lowest performing of all public schools in Oklahoma. The State Department of Education says they are Keys Elementary in Cimarron County, Ferris K through 8th grade in Atoka County, OK High School in Wagoner County, McLean High School in Tulsa, and Scheidler Elementary, Roosevelt Middle School, and Santa Fe South Middle School in Oklahoma City. Under the waiver from the federal No Child Left Behind law, the Oklahoma Department of Education set out new ways to determine which schools would make the low-performing list. Meredith McBee, an assistant state superintendent, explained to the State Board of Education how they did it.
We looked at reading and math 1 year only and added those scores together. For both reading and math and divided by the number of students. It was the whole school added together, and an index was created based on that sum divided by the number of students that took a test. And then all the schools were rank ordered.
Each school and district also filled out a capacity document providing historical data, academic and organizational support, and expectations for the future. Then each category was broken down into multiple issues and weighted. 3 of those 7 schools blame that process for why they made it to the state's version of needs improvement. Chris Brewster is superintendent of Santa Fe South Schools.
They've used apparently some different metrics to determine success. And in this particular case, it's not the same metric that we've been held to in the past with NCLB.
Brewster took his case to the State Board of Education. He gave them information on how the middle school's API, or Academic Performance Index, has improved over the last 4 years. It is largely a measure of reading and math scores.
From significantly below state average to approaching state average to exceeding state average in API. And then to near the state average. We were only 50 points below the state average last year with our middle school.
Brewster told the board 84 other schools currently have API scores below those of his middle school students. State Superintendent Janet Barisi told the board other schools also disagreed with the designation of lowest performing.
Other than Mr. Brewster, there was just one other school there was 2 others, who were angry and pretty much that it was the quality of the DCD we got back. Even with our best efforts at encouraging them to give us as complete of information as possible, they were angry.
Keys Public Schools in Cimarron County has 85 students from pre-K through the 12th grade. Superintendent Keith Kincaid says, "The process was not fair and I feel discriminated against because we're a small school. Yes, I'm angry at the process, angry over how the State Department treated my school." Mickey Eigert is superintendent of OK Schools in Wagoner County. He also disagrees with his high school being on the list. "I'm not okay with it, but what else can you do? We will do whatever it takes to get off the list." Mike Figueroa is the principal of Santa Fe South Middle School, with 373 students and a waiting list of over 300 more.
Our reputation, I think the community, our kids, their families, their neighbors, all hear good things about us, and in turn, they want to come and be a part of this school.
90% of the school is Hispanic, 93% receive free or reduced priced lunches, and 80% are bilingual.
So they'd struggle with meanings of words and translating words. You know, their first language is Spanish, so in their brains they have to translate it in their head and then make it come out English and write it in English.
The students say they can't imagine going to school anywhere else.
Like if you don't understand something, they'll go back with you on one-on-one and teach you what you don't understand.
When you go to a big school, you're not really special to your teachers. You're just another kid, just another thing that they have to do to get a paycheck. And here, you're special. The teachers really care about you.
I really do love this school. This is, I don't know, if I lose this school, I'd probably be like all heartbroken and everything.
According to figures supplied to the state school board, Santa Fe South students have been making steady improvement over the last 4 years. Figueroa credits that to a school atmosphere of caring and building relationships.
Then homework becomes important because they don't want to disappoint you. Then testing becomes important because they want to do the best they can because they have a spirit at this school of success. And the school spirit and culture here is we're going to do what nobody thinks we can do. I see a place where we enjoy a 96, 97% attendance rate on a daily basis. I see a place where we have 6 parent-teacher conferences and 100% attendance at them.
Oklahoma City School Board President Angela Monson expected to see some of her schools on the list, but that did not include Santa Fe South.
Santa Fe South Middle School selection really gives rise to that discomfort or uncertainty regarding the formula or the criteria used to select the schools. When you look at all of the academic factors and indicators regarding Santa Fe South Middle School, you really do have to say, wonder how they got on the list.
Munson says the State Department of Education's process relied heavily on paperwork.
You know, it's a document. It's a document that ended up being about this thick. We submitted 19 of them. There were readers. We don't know who those readers were. We were never told who the readers would be. We were never told what the scoring process, what the rubric would be.
And Munson says if Santa Fe South doesn't belong on the list, and other schools are saying the same thing, it raises questions about what other mistakes may have been made in this complicated process.
If that be the case, I think it will erode some confidence in this process and erodes confidence in those who are implementing this process. I think what the State Department of Education will have to do is prove without a reasonable doubt that Santa Fe South Middle School really does belong on the list.
And it appears several members of the State Board of Education agree. Board member Joy Hoffmeister said during a recent board meeting, the state must be sure the process is fair.
I do think that we owe it to the kids to make sure that we are using the capacity of the State Department of Education the most wisely, so that we are, if there is another school that should be taking the place of that energy and funds, I think that is worthy that we explore and make sure that the people on the list are the right ones.
For her part, State Superintendent Janet Barisi says she is confident their process worked as intended.
We stand by the selection process, we stand by the formula used, and we stand by the process. And we understand that Mr. Brewster is objecting to this, and that is his privilege. But our recommendations to you are as stands.
Bob Sands produced this story. Bob, have these low-performing schools found out how the state plans to help them improve?
Not officially yet, Dick. They have some kind of ideas because in the waiver request to the federal government from on the No Child Left Behind law, there were some things that were mentioned that the State Department might do, but that's also part of what concerns them because included in that information was the acknowledgement that state law allows the State Department of Education to simply take over schools that are low performing and not getting better and install what's called an education management organization, an EMO, which is actually a private for-profit company that can at wholesale dismiss teachers and administrators. So they feel like that's hanging over their heads and they don't have any information yet. Now the Board of Education meets in a special session, a special meeting on Monday the 9th. There may be more information then. One other quick thing to pass along, Superintendent Barisi did indicate that one thing she does want to do for these low-performing schools is take superintendents, principals, stakeholders, and others from every school, fly them all to Orlando, Florida, so they can see how those schools have improved because of changes that have made in the system that have largely been adopted here in Oklahoma.
Bob Sands, thank you.
Thank you.